Nightcast. Steve Lloyd Gilbert brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbert.
Greetings, friends. We're just doing a test today of some new potential software. Greetings, friends. We're just doing a test today of some potential new software in the way of a software upgrade. And so we have to do this here. And we're testing the new x264 encoder. And while we're doing this, it's not looking too good on some things. Looks like awfully slow, hanging up, but we'll see. It may be too much for the computer we have, but we're going to test it out. We're going to go to the first video where there was an earthquake in Los Angeles, California, early this morning. And while newscasters were on the air, they were shaken by this earthquake.
In my house.
It's like dog party, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
It's funny.
Whoa!
Oh,
Earthquake.
big earthquake right now.
Big earthquake. That's
A really strong shaker right now.
And I remember my first Quaker in California. I was on the Ambassador College campus as a freshman student at the time in Grove Terrace dorm. And early morning, and wow, just before I got up, the earthquake shook, before 6 o'clock in the morning. And that building, built with California earthquake standards, it swayed one way and swayed the other way. And I mean, it was a big sway. I was on, what was it, second, third floor? But, and that building swayed one way, and then whoa, here it comes like a pendulum swaying the other way. And it'll be a long time before I forget that one. All right, second video relates to the Malaysian aircraft in our test. Now, this is just a test broadcast, testing x264 encoder, potential upgrade for our software. Before I pay for it, I want to test it out and see if it's going to be worth the money or if it's going to cause problems, if it's going to cause our software to hang up or stuff like that, or slower than it sometimes does. We're operating on marginal computer equipment. But here's a video that appeared on YouTube that was found showing the inspection of the two pilots before they boarded the missing Malaysian aircraft. Let's take a look at this video. Now, there's no audio with this. This is just video footage at the airport check-in of the pilots before they boarded their plane, the MH370, also known also co-coded or code-shared with China flight number 748. All right, now let's go to the next one. This is another version of the same video. This one does have some commentary with it, though, I believe. Let's see.
These are believed to be the last images of the pilots of flight MH370 as they passed through security in Kuala Lumpur. Their roles in the plane's disappearance once again in the spotlight. At the center of the investigation, the exact sequence of events in the cockpit in the early hours of that fateful Saturday morning. We already knew the final words from the plane before it went silent and turned west were "all right, good night" to Malaysian air traffic control. Now the investigation team has announced they believe it was First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid who said those words.
Initial investigation indicated it was the co-pilot who basically spoke the last time it was recorded on tape.
The Malaysians are still far from clear as to exactly the sequence in which communications on board were turned off. 2 minutes after the good night message, they say the transponder was switched off. Whoever was flying the plane did not sign in with Vietnamese air traffic control and the plane turned to the west. First Officer Farouk's name first came up in this investigation when two women said they'd spent a fight with him in the cockpit, flirting and smoking cigarettes. But apart from this apparent disregard for the rules, there's little in his background to suggest a man capable of hijacking a plane. Passengers have also come under renewed scrutiny, in particular those who might know how to disable a plane's communication systems. Khairul Amri Silamat, a 29-year-old engineer for a private aviation company, is one who fits that profile. His father is sure his son isn't involved and still clings to the hope that he just might be found alive. People can say what they want about my son. I don't care, he told me. He's my son and I know he's not involved. New maps released today show the areas being searched extended still further. At one extreme, it could be near the Caspian Sea, or to the south, just off the coast of Antarctica. Despite a huge multinational effort, the mystery of what happened to flight MH370 is still a long way from being solved.
All right, friends, and it's still a long way from being solved, too, as to whether this upgrade is going to work for us. I see it's consuming a lot of CPU, 100%, and our frames per second are considerably dropped. We'll see. Wonder how the lip sync is holding. We'll find out in a moment. Our next video is related to a seizure by the United States at the invitation of the Libyan government to seize this oil tanker. But, you know, the United States and its Navy SEALs, they are good at being able to seize ships and even to divert aircraft. Of course, you know, since transponders were turned off and things like that, it sounds like there was some cooperation on the part of the pilots. But Russia, out of the Kremlin, they've got a report, I read it last night, about saying that the United States seized that Malaysian Flight 370 and now has it in the Diego Atoll, the Diego, you know, some island, Diego something Atoll. And but this video shows how the United States Navy SEALs were able to seize the Libyan oil tanker that had illegal cargo, the stolen oil cargo that the Libyan government asked the United States to help them retrieve. Here's the video on that as we test this x264 potential upgrade.
The Pentagon says that U.S. Navy SEALs boarded and seized the oil vessel that was carrying an illegal shipment of crude oil from Libya. They seized it from the Mediterranean Sea, and at the time it was docked just off the island of Cyprus. Libyan authorities have confirmed that they requested the help of the U.S. government to retrieve the oil to Libya. It's believed that U.S. sailors will now be guiding back to Libyan shores. It's unclear at this stage where it will be docking. Now, this latest development is likely to act as a deterrent for any future illegal oil sales from Libya. It sends a clear message to anyone trying to buy oil from the armed groups that are blockading the oil ports in the east that it will not be an easy task.
Okay, all right. Now, our last video in this test, I hope this is a long enough test to make this a good analysis. This last video is related to a UN report on some pretty atrocious things that have been happening in North Korea.
The journey from North Korea to the United Nations in Geneva has been long and difficult. Kim Jong-il can't forget the regime he escaped from 17 years ago, a regime which the UN investigation claims uses terror, violence and starvation to control its people.
Our family had a bit of corn because my mother had a small business, but my friend's family lived off acorns. My friend in high school died of starvation. I watched him die.
Deliberate famine is just one chilling allegation in the 400-page investigation. There are also horrific details of prison camps, even drawings made by former prisoners of the living lying with the dead and inmates forced to eat snakes and rats to survive. Investigators believe the UN must act.
Too many times in there are reports and no action. Well, this is a time for action. We can't say we didn't know. We now all do know. Anyone who wants to know can read the report.
The report recommends sanctions against North Korea's leaders, even referral to the International Criminal Court. The North Korean defectors who have travelled to Geneva are pinning their hopes on action from the UN Human Rights Council.
There's no chance of change with the current regime, but I have faith in the UN to put pressure on. Eventually the current system will collapse. The government has to change. We need a new system.
Those hopes may be disappointed. The Human Rights Council can advise, but only the UN Security Council can refer North Korea to the International Criminal Court. There, China, which says it prefers dialogue to sanctions, has a veto. So today, the world's top human rights body will have to consider what it can possibly do about one of the most detailed accounts of atrocities ever produced. Atrocities which, the victims hope, surely cannot be ignored. Imogen Folks, BBC News, Geneva.
All right, friends, and that's the end of our test. This is only a test broadcast midday to test our potential new x264 encoders. And until our regular broadcast tonight at 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern Time, this is your regular host being interrupted by this potential new upgrade to the software, saying, so long, friends. We're testing.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.